Hello, welcome. My name is Joanne Webb, and today I'm going to do a video about the reading components in early childhood education. The first part is understanding phonemic awareness. By definition, it's the ability to hear and manipulate individual sounds in words. This is the auditory skill that begins at birth as a child listens to their home language spoken by their caregiver. The way to foster this is to have lots of conversation with your child. Talk to them about their day, talk to them about what they see, keep it easy, keep it clear. And then soon they'll be able to, you could play games where you are pointing out words like cat, bat, rat, vat. The most important part is that you are talking to your child and they're building their vocabulary and they're realizing that sounds mean something. And sounds is a big give and take. It's a conversation. As your child gets older, you could play games to encourage phonetic awareness. One of the games is sounding sorting game. Part of that game is you could show a picture and ask them to tell you what that picture is, a picture of a bear or a cat, and you could sound it out. Bear, bear, or cat. You could also use actual objects, a kitty cat or a teddy bear. You will sound it out. The point of sounding it out is that your child will not start hearing the initial start of the word cat, bear. In hearing this, their listening skills just grow stronger. So the next step, once your child realizes that there's different tones and different meanings to words and they're beginning to talk, the next step would be phonics instruction. With the phonics instruction, you're taking a big word and you're helping your child learn the things that make up a word, which are the letters. The letters have their own sound. When they mix with other letters, they make different sounds. So you're going from big to small. And so you're teaching them that they have this relationship with each other. This is sound symbol correspondence. So that's the building block of decoding words. A good game for that, for phonics activity for a little one, would be the letter of the day. Today's letter is J, so you would name things that start with J and look around for things that start with J, like my name is Joanne. I like to jump rope. I like to play with Jack. I like to have some jelly with our jam. I like to sail some jokes. You have fun with the letter of the day, where you look for objects, you look for things when you go shopping. Another activity that can be done at home or at school, it's the sound matching cards, where you have pictures and you have letters, or pictures with the letters on them, like alligator or cookie, and you have the child sound it out. What's the letter? What do you think that letter is? Cookie. Alligator. An adaptation to that to help would be to actually watch videos of people pronouncing the letters, or sometimes there's little songs or rhymes. All of that is fun, and children like to have fun while they're learning, so you want to take advantage of that. The next step with learning how to read is vocabulary development. The more you know about a topic, the more words you have about a topic, the more background knowledge you have, you're more interested, you get to make more connection. So how does that look like for a child? You're going to read stories about topics, you're going to watch videos, you're going to go on little walking trips, you're going to point out things. An example is, when I walk down the street, I see the red light, I see the green light, I see the yellow light. These are traffic lights. You're going to build little stories as you go about your day. You're telling them about their world, so that when you come in the classroom or you come at home and you get a book and you're reading this and you're pointing out the words as you're reading, they're making the connection that the words and the pictures and the actual things that they see in their everyday life, they all have meaning and they all have connection. Scavenger hunt is always a great thing, where you go around the classroom or you go around the house, and you find items, you find things that support, that you talk about. A good activity that can be used in the classroom is the picture word wall. If you're learning about a theme, you could have children bring things from home that reflect the theme, or things they're interested in that reflect the theme. For example, if your theme is a fire truck, you get pictures of all things fire truck, fireman. You take trips to the fire station. You read books about the fire station and the fire truck. You draw about it. You make songs about it. You dress up in dramatic play area. You want to make as many real world connections about a topic as possible. So the children are feeling comfortable about it. They're growing in their vocabulary every time you explore different ways to learn about firefighters. Another fun activity is the story prop box. Part of that is you would have a box. You would have items in there according to the theme, according to the interest of the children. And as you pull it out, you talk about these items. What's so special? What makes them connect? What do you find on a farm, for example? If you're reading Old MacDonald, you could have farm animals, and then you might sneak in there like a whale, or you might sneak in there like a camel, and you're like, is this an animal you find on a farm? And then you could watch videos about it. You could go to the zoo. So you want to introduce to the children as many real world connections. You want them to see that the things in the books are things that they get to see in real life. And they're motivated by that. They're more interested in that. The next step for reading is, after you've had your phonemic awareness, you understand what your letters look like, you can identify your letters, you could put them together and make words. The next thing is understanding fluency. So part of fluency is being able to read clearly what you're reading, understand what you're reading in context. For little children, you're not going to pick some massive academic book, but you're going to pick a simple version, and you're going to build on that over time. The goal with fluency is to build confidence. So you might read a book more than once. Each time you read it, you're gonna want to encourage your child. Oh, you got this word right. You tried really hard pronouncing that. What's another way you could try to say this word? What do you think this word looks like? An activity that really encourages fluency is when the teacher takes time to read the stories. Make sure that you're touching the words as you're reading the stories, taking your time, letting them know that when you're reading fluently, it's not how fast you read, it's how comfortable you are reading, and that you understand if you're asked questions later about what it is that you read. Part of that is comprehension, but part of comprehension, as we're going to talk about later, is the fact that you've read what you've read and you understood what you read. Another great way to build fluency is to read nursery rhymes. For example, hickory dickory dock, the mouse went up the clock struck one, the mouse ran down, hickory dickory dock. Part of these rhymes, there's play on the words, there's play on the tongue, and it's fun. You could act it out, but it gives the children something fun to think about as they're reading, as they're practicing to read it and to read it clearly. And as we all know, children love to move, they love to dance, so any opportunity they get to act out what they're reading just reinforces that reading is not just words on paper, but they're words that mean something. Lastly, all of these steps build towards the most important part of reading, you could say, is comprehension. You're reading to decode what's on the paper, what's in the text, to discover new things, discover new clues. And part of all of that is to get you to just learn more about the world around you, whether it's math or science or music, whatever it is you're interested in. Odds are there's writing about it, and that's where comprehension comes into play. So children are learning to make the connections between the letters, the words, the sounds. Now they're getting it in a sentence, or they're getting it in a paragraph or a story. And part of that to help is being able to ask questions. And a great activity for that is picture walk strategies, where you're printing out the story in picture form and asking them what comes first, what's in the middle, what's the end of the story, getting them to put the story in sequence, seeing if they understand. Obviously, it's a story that you've read before, to see if they understood the story, the little parts of the story. Another fun thing to do to test if the children comprehend is to ask them, what do you think is going to happen?